Hi, in this video, I want to teach you how you can teach yourself more Stata. In other words, if you want to use Stata to complete a data processing task and you don't know what the required command is, or how to use that command to accomplish what you want to accomplish, then what do you do? Where do you find help? And the example problem that I want to work with is importing data from a file format that is not DTA. So the DTA file format is the native Stata format, and Stata knows how to open DTA files. But most of the time you will get your data in a different format. A very popular format is the CSV format, and like the file we downloaded here, and it's still in our folder. So CSV is short for comma separated. I don't actually know what the V stands for. But in any way, sort of Mac has associated this file format with Excel. So if I double click this will open in Excel, and Stata knows how to open this. There's 3 data columns: college GPA, high school GPA, and ACT. We'll get to what that is later. So yeah, Stata Excel did a good job of opening this file, but as Excel keeps telling us here, this is not really the Excel file format. This was just a different file format that Excel knows how to open, but it's not really sort of the file format that Excel wants to save stuff in. What is a comma separated file anyway? So really it's just a text file, and a text file is a kind of the simplest file that exists. A text file is just a sequence of characters that are encoded somehow numerically. But it's just a sequence of characters. I can open this in a text editor, then I will, if I want to see the sequence of characters, let me just search for my text editor. Now I'll open the file in my text editor, and you can see this is just the character C, then the character O, and so on. You may think so. There's also line breaks, right, in a text file, but actually, line break is just another kind of character, and my text editor translates this character to an actual line break. So then, here's how a CSV file works. So every line corresponds to a row of data, and commas separate columns. So here we have a 3 in the first row, a 3 in the second row, and then a 21 in the third row. So the first line here is a little different. It gives us the names for the columns. So then this tells us that the first column encodes college GPA. So this is a very simple file format, and lots of data comes in this file format because everyone can open and manipulate and save this file format. So how do we get a CSV file into Stata? So here I still have the DTA file data loaded, by the way. So let me just run the clear command. So now I have no data in memory, and I want to load the data that is in the CSV file. Let's pretend I don't know how to do that. What I can do is I can just Google that. So I'll open my web browser, and I'll search for Stata because I'm having a Stata problem. What do I want to do is I want to import data from a different file format, and here it already suggests CSV. I get different hits, and this here, importing and exporting text delimited data. That sounds good. It's from stata.com. Let me just click on that. And here I even find an instructional video. I could watch that. Short description. But mainly what I'm after is, here, the commands for easily importing and exporting data to and from Stata are import delimited and export delimited. So this is a command. So now I've learned the command. So what I can do once I know the command is I can go back to Stata, and now Stata has a pretty good help files, pretty good documentation, and I can access this documentation by typing help and then typing the command that I need help for. So import delimited was the command that I just learned by Googling. So, and now another window opens here, the viewer window. And now this is the first time we're looking at the Stata documentation. So let me take a second to explain this. So syntax. Often related commands have different syntaxes. So what is a syntax? A syntax is basically the grammar. So if you're issuing a Stata command, you're using language to communicate to Stata what you want Stata to do, right? But you're not using spoken English, you're using the special Stata language, like a programming language. And this language has rules, right? It has words, or the commands, and it has grammar, which gives us the rules for combining commands. So the syntax just says grammar. So in one way of using the word or the command import delimited is explained here. So I have to type import delimited, and if so, a part of this is underlined, and this tells me if I am lazy, I just have to type the underlined part. So I can type import delim, and this will be the same as typing import delimited. So delim is less easy to understand what it means, but it saves some time typing. Then I can type using, that is optional. This is why it is here in brackets. Then I have to type the file name. And then there's another part that is optional. It's in brackets, comma, and options. So this is a common pattern that you will see for almost all Stata commands, is that you can modify a command by giving options. And the options are explained down here. So we'll play it with some of those later. But right now we just want to import the file. So we do import delim, good, delimited, delim. Using, I don't have to type, I just have to type the file name. And now it's another important thing that I want you to learn. I could just type the whole path, right? So this would be the path. I would just have to modify to CSV, right? But this is not a good idea for two reasons. First, like, it's really long, and we want our commands to be short and easy to read. And also, if someone else wants to issue like the same commands on their computer, they have to modify this command so that it works on their computer, and they will, for example, not be user. So this is my username, and they will have a different username, so they cannot have the same path, right? So instead, what is a better way to specify a path is to use what's called a relative path. So we'll just write the name of the file. And now Stata will see this is not a path that starts from like from the root, what it's called. Like here, this starts with a slash, so this path starts from the root. There's no slash here at the beginning, so Stata knows it's not like we didn't specify the whole path, we want a relative path. And where will Stata look for this file if we specify relative path? It will look in our working directory. So you can check the working directory. It's very small, maybe difficult for you to read, but like in the lower left corner of the screen. And we set this earlier with the cd command. Right. So actually I can check this is the correct working directory. This is where I put my CSV file. So Stata should be able to locate it. So now I just press enter, and it actually worked. I imported 3 variables, 141 observations, and here you can see the variables showing up. I can also view the data, and now there's college GPA, high school GPA, ACT, and there's all the data, the same data that I saw in the Excel file, but now it's in Stata. So that worked great. The next thing that I want to talk about is command options. So how do you modify Stata commands? Why would we want to modify the import command? Well, because it's not always straightforward for Stata to deduce how you want your data imported. Let me give you one example. So here we have our CSV file, right? And here you'll see in row number 3, 3.4. So in a CSV file, that's a text file, right? Those are 3 characters, a character that represents 3, a character that represents a dot, and a character that represents a 4. Now, what Stata has done, it has interpreted this as the number 3.4, right? So first, it deduced that this column, the first column of data are numbers. And let's just go back and check this. If we go to college GPA, we can look at variables, properties of the variable, and it says type float. So this is a data format for numbers, and float means that you can have decimal numbers. So Stata has deduced that this is a number, right? And not just like the word 3.4, which so that could also be text data. Stata has already decided that this is numerical data. This is some behavior that we might want to modify. In this case, actually, that's fine. That is actually numerical data. Also, Stata has recognized the point here as decimal separator. So if you had a Swedish CSV, then the decimal separator would be comma, right? And then if you use a comma as a decimal separator, you cannot use it to separate the columns. Then you need another separator to separate columns, for example, a semicolon, right? So they're different than flavors of CSV files if you're working with international data. And you have to tell Stata like which flavor of the CSV file to expect. So let's just go back to our help import delim. That didn't actually work. I have to put delimited. Okay. Here, down here, you can see the options. And for example, here there's an option that allows you to specify the decimal separator. So I can put decimal separator a comma if I have a Swedish CSV file. And then the delimiter is what delimits the columns or separates the columns. Then I could put, for example, a semicolon if that's what is in my CSV file and what is separating the columns. I can also force a column to be read as like text data, or text is called a string. So string short for string of characters. I can force a column to be read as text data even if it looks like numerical data to Stata by specifying here, for example, that the first column is string or text data. Right? So those are basically the options that I have to put after the comma. So that I have to put basically in place of this blue text here. And I can have several options. I just separate them by characters, by spaces. And here's obviously then on the right hand side here, you can see a short description of what the option does. I want to just demonstrate for one use case. So often what you have, actually let me demonstrate two things. So often what you have is that your data doesn't really start in the first row. Instead, often providers of data put some header there that, for example, this file is for Basic Econometrics. And at some point then here the data starts in is written in the standard CSV format. Now if you just let me just save this. Now what if you just try to import this data in Stata, then Stata will get very confused because it thinks the first row are variable names. So this would be like one variable name, probably because there's no delimiter, there's no comma. So like probably would think this is there's only one column of data, and now it would try to read the data, but suddenly there are commas showing up, which it doesn't expect because it expects only one row. So like things will go terribly wrong, right? So basically what I want to tell Stata is, hey, this is a CSV file, it's a little strange. It really starts in in row 5. So I can look at the options, row range. I can specify the rows that Stata is looking at. That's nice, but then also I have to kind of specify an end, I guess. Or maybe not. So I could try that. Or var names. Actually, that sounds really good because my var names are in row number 5. Let me try that. Okay, so now I actually lost my window. Viewer, recent viewer. Good. Var names, and then in parentheses, I can put like pounds, and pounds is I'm expected to replace for a number, or like this vertical line just means like you do either the one thing or the other thing, or I write no names if there are no variable names given in the CSV file. But I know the variable names are given, but in row number 5. Okay. So I just do well, I have to clear first, I guess. Because Stata will complain otherwise that I'm importing data even though I have already data in memory. So I clear, and now I do import dlim var names. So I put a comma, now I'm putting my option, and var names are in 5. And that actually worked. Great. So now I managed to import from this, non-standard CSV file. Also, you may have noticed that the variables are all lowercase, and they come with a label where sort of I have the variable name that I really want. I can do some research, look at the options here, And actually there's an option for case. So I can either give the option case preserve, case lower, or case upper. Preserve the case of the variables as lowercase or uppercase. Lowercase is the default. I just want to preserve. Can I do that? So I just add another variable. I forgot the syntax. Case, okay. I just add another option and I just separate by space. Case preserve. Oh, now I actually forgot to put clear. Clear. And all right, now the case actually is preserved and we have GPA capitalized. Great. So that's it for this video. You should have learned how to work with CSV files. What are they? How do you get data in CSV files into Stata? And most of all, you should have learned a little bit about the process, how you can teach yourself more Stata, and how you can approach tasks that you don't know right away how to do in Stata.